So my dudes, Valk here. Today I'm going to talk about some of the positives and negatives of Venti. And it's going to be a rather quick video because it's going to be very easy to surmise what he is and isn't good at. Basically, I'm just going to tell you guys straight up. Venti's a monster. He really is. Venti, whenever he's in where he excels at, he absolutely destroys any content put in front of him. But he has some caveats because he's both ends of the spectrum. He's either really, really good in whatever content you're doing, or he's entirely useless. From my playtime and experience, and let me show you guys, I have him Friendship 10. I've had him since the very first week of the game. He did not leave my party for a very long time. I have a ton of experience on Venti. This is all from experience and based on my personal experience of using him for a bunch of things. So, let's go ahead, let me get into what his positives are, and then I'll dip into the negatives, because every time I'm critical of a unit, people get really upset. So I'll save those for last. First off, whenever Venti is very, very, very good whenever he works. He generates energy for your team. He can trigger swirls that can constantly apply a type of element to set up giant wombo combos between 3 different units. And as I said, generates energy. He can absolutely dominate any domain that he gets thrown into because of his ult and how it drags everything to the center. You pair him with like C1 Ning Wong that has AoE on our normals, and you just rain damage extremely quickly. That was my combo that got me through almost all the content in the game. If you're building him for more of a support focused build, he's basically never waiting on ult. It's always up. He always has energy for it. He's never like in a need for energy. His skill can get you up to high places and make exploration much, much easier by putting up a turret, or a torrent, I guess is a better way to say it. And you can do that on top of Zhongli's Pillar and Albedo's Flower as well to get even more height to make climbing that much easier. And he just overall makes most of the content in the game a joke due to just his ability to do this, right? He works with just about any build. I mean, well, just about any weapon. He's only really got one build, which is 4-piece Iridescent. I think that's objectively his best build, but he works with just about any single weapon. You can either build him for damage, you can build him for support, you can build him any way you want. He's just going to carry you regardless. So, those are basically his bonuses. Also, he's very, very cheap to invest into, because you don't need to build him, and you don't need to stonk him out. He's going to be very good from the get-go until you have him completely built, until you get him wherever you want him. He's going to be good from start to finish. Doesn't really fall off. It's just you got to make sure he can actually be used in the content. Now we get into the negatives, the more negative side of Venti. Basically, Venti is not going to help you against any sort of bosses or any sort of content where you're fighting large enemies, ruin guards, ruin hunters, etc. Because whenever he ults, they're going to literally walk out of it. They're going to just straight up walk out of it. If it's something that he cannot pull inwards with his ult, they're going to just walk out of it, and it's going to act like it didn't happen. So the only reason you would bring Venti into circumstances is to trigger 4-piece Iridescent, or to try to snipe ruin guard eyes. But that would be the only reason you ever bring Venti in those circumstances, because they literally walk out of it. Same thing with any domain that has bigger enemies, like the Archaic Petra domain, where you have to fight a Ruin Hunter. He can't really help you out with that. Or Abyss Mages, he can trigger Swirl on the Abyss Mages if you can get them close enough, or if you can do some tricks to where you can get them to get really close and bundle up together. And you can trigger the Swirl, which will constantly apply one Abyss Mage elemental type to the other one. But against like 2 Hydro Abyss Mages, he's not going to help you too much, because Swirl does not deal that much shield damage by itself. You need an element attached to it. Yeah, those are basically like really his own downsides. Is the fact that he just needs to be in content that he actually excels at, you know. But other than that, Venti's a monster. I'm gonna say this straight up too. A lot of people call Venti a must summon. I'm gonna be very upfront with this. I don't believe there's any unit in this game that's a must summon. I've had Venti in my team for a very long time, and he was 100%. He helped a ton early in the game. He really did. Venti carried me through a lot of shit. Venti plus Ning Wong absolutely dominated almost every content I ran into. Anything that could get affected by Venti became an absolute joke because they stay CC'd the whole time. They don't have a chance to fight back. Now that being said, ever since then I have also built up basically every single unit I've ever gotten my hands on. I built up Xiao, I built up Keqing, I built up Ning Wong, I built Hu Tao, I built Xing Qiao, I built Diluc, I built all these units up, right? And I can tell you this much: if you hyper invest into one unit, you get their talent levels super high. You get their talent levels way up. Or if I go over to Hu Tao, in both my Xiao and Hu Tao I hyper invested in, and my Jean's pretty invested in too. You invest in a unit really hard like this, you do something to that extent, you're going to absolutely blow through every last bit of content, whether you want to or not. Even Abyss becomes an absolute joke once you have a hyper invested DPS unit, or hyper invested units all in all, becomes an absolute joke. So you end up just not needing someone as absolutely useful as Venti. You don't need Venti. Venti is very good, but you don't need him. He's extremely strong, but like I said, it's not necessary. There's many other units that will do that you can invest hyper into that will carry you through all the content, but in the end, there's only one Venti. If you like how Venti plays, you like his gameplay loop, you like everything he does, then by all means get him, because you 100% will have a much easier time with the game with Venti, but like I say, it's just unnecessary. Anyways, guys, that's the positives and negatives. I know I ranted on a little bit today. I know I did do a little bit of the good old ranty rant, but I wanted to make sure I got my points across. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll catch you all later. Thank you all for watching as always, and peace.